What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. I hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Now, we're within just a minute now of getting a final score from this week's AFC divisional playoff matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. The Buffalo Bills are currently winning by a score of 17-3. And first of all, I just want to say congratulations if you are a Buffalo Bills fan. This has been a long time coming, and you finally have a shot to play in the AFC Championship Game with a shot to play in the Super Bowl. That's such an amazing accomplishment. You guys have a young team led by a young quarterback in Josh Allen. And I mean, the direction that this franchise has moved is absolutely sensational. You guys should be extremely happy whether you make it to the Super Bowl or not in the upcoming week. Just really, really solid game. I mean, when you look at the way that the Buffalo Bills played in this game, you see just a nitty-gritty game, especially in the first half. You know, went into halftime with a score of 3-3. Now, I know Bills missed a field goal, and obviously the big story of that half was Justin Tucker's 2 missed field goals. You know, he's only missed 4 field goals in his postseason career, and 3 of them have come in the past 2 weeks. Really unfortunate, you know, for Baltimore Ravens fans, for Justin Tucker, and a really unfortunate end to the season here. But I mean, the Bills really outplayed the Ravens here, starting with really both their offensive and defensive lines, which were both fantastic today. Particularly, you know, looking at what they did in order to stop Lamar Jackson for the 3 quarters that he played, had him under pressure all night long, did really good job of beating that Ravens offensive line, and again, making Lamar Jackson feel more uncomfortable than I think he already was coming into today, playing with the weather that was in Buffalo today. Just a really talented Buffalo team as well. Lamar Jackson did not look great today. But again, the Bills, really clean game, I think, got better as the game went on. They played really well in the second half, particularly in the third quarter, to really shut this game down. And I think that, again, Bills fans should be really happy moving forward and on into next week. Let's flip over to the box score. We'll start with the losing Baltimore Ravens first. Again, Lamar Jackson was not fantastic. 14 for 24 before he leaves with his concussion. He threw an interception as well at the end-ish of the third quarter, the Ravens' first drive of the second half. And here's what I didn't like about that particular throw. Lamar Jackson, as I was saying before, was under pressure all night long because the Bills' defensive line was so fantastic today. But there was actually that play on third down in the red zone where Lamar Jackson had probably the most time in the pocket that he's had all night long. And for whatever reason, he was rushed. He made a really bad read and threw that pick 6. That ultimately is what is probably going to be sending the Baltimore Ravens home. Because if that's a touchdown there, you know, all of a sudden it's a tie game instead of a 17-3 game. That's a 14-point swing. And I just think the overall whole of how many points the Ravens left up on the board, I think it's just really unfortunate. In terms of the running game, obviously, they had some issues, you know, with their healthy scratch coming into the game. Dobbins, Edwards both ran 10 carries each for 42 yards, no touchdowns on the ground. Obviously, the Ravens didn't get into the end zone today. I thought the Bills did a really good job of containing Lamar Jackson. He had one long run, which got called back on a Ravens holding, and then there was only one really long run of 15 yards that they picked up a big third down conversion on. But other than that, I mean, you know Lamar Jackson wants to run. He ran fantastic last week against the Titans, which is why the Bills were in this game. And the Bills did a really good job. Again, everything that had to do with their defensive line and the way, you know, that they really made Lamar Jackson feel uncomfortable is fantastic today. And that's why, you know, we'll break down the possible matchup next week. I mean, that's why it could be a really interesting one against Patrick Mahomes and that talented Kansas City Chiefs offense. In terms of Baltimore receiving, Willie Snead led the way, but again, nobody had really that many yards. He had 5 receptions. Marquise Brown led the way in terms of actual receiving yards. He had 87. He had the second longest catch of the day for 30 yards. But again, didn't get a lot going in the passing game. The real only string of consecutive completed passes that were really good was in order to get that field goal at the end of the second half. But other than that, completely shut down all day. Let's flip over to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, you know, he wasn't fantastic today. He got better in the second half. But I think what we saw today from him showed a lot of that maturity that I was talking about sort of in the post game of this. You know, the Buffalo Bills and the Josh Allen that we saw in the Texans game that they lost last week is not the Buffalo Bills that we saw, last year against the Houston Texans, is not the Buffalo Bills that we saw today. They looked a lot more mature. They found a way to get the job done. Josh Allen, who was not good in the first half, improved over the course of the game, and that shows a lot of maturity and, again, a lot of hope if you are a Buffalo Bills fan and looking at what the Bills might not only do, you know, if they don't make the Super Bowl, but potentially looking towards controlling the AFC in years to come. Bills did not run the ball that much. They only ran a total of 13 times, mostly to kill the clock in the second half. Only ran the ball 3 times in the first half, and actually only one of those was from Devin Singletary. So heavy passing offense in the first half. And I think that, you know, although they didn't run the ball that good, I think you definitely got to mix it up, and I think that showed in the second half. In terms of receiving, Stefon Diggs, who else would you expect? 8 receptions, 106 yards. And caught the only touchdown pass. John Brown, 8 receptions as well, 62 yards. Knox, Singletary, McKenzie, all got involved. Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, surprisingly didn't. 6 targets towards them, no catches. But it shows you how depthy this Bills team is. They can beat you in a lot of ways. They got a great underrated receiving core. I've always said that. And yeah, just absolutely fantastic. In terms of defense, they were good. They had 4 sacks in the game against a really mobile quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Edmonds played good. Tre'Davious White played good. Hyde played good. This entire defense as a unit was really fantastic. Really impressive. If we flip over to the team stats, it's pretty obvious why the Ravens lost. Obviously the big turnover. You look at them individually. Not great on third down, but you look towards the Bills side and they weren't fantastic either. And that's what I'm trying to say. This game, that one interception completely flipped the tail of this game. Because the Ravens, although they weren't good on third down, only 7 of 17, the Bills were 4 of 12. The Bills had less passing yards, had less rushing yards, but a lot less penalties. They played an overall cleaner game. And the Ravens were the only one to make that one mistake. Ravens defensively didn't play bad. I thought Josh Allen missed some passes deep. I thought the Ravens, gave Josh Allen a lot of time in the pocket, but I thought their coverage for the majority of the game was really good. Only 10 defensive points allowed, and which is phenomenal taking into consideration the poor field position that they were put into. But a really clean game by the Buffalo Bills. Let's flip over to what they could potentially be playing next week in order to get a chance to play in the Super Bowl. They'll play the winner of tomorrow's game between the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. At this time, Kansas City Chiefs come into the game as a minus 10-point favorite. And I'll tell you what, though. We saw a great performance by the Browns and Baker Mayfield last week to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers have a fantastic defense. They're a very talented team with a great receiving core. Now, Kansas City will definitely be a step up. They will not get as many freebies as they got from Ben Roethlisberger in terms of the interceptions that you would get from Patrick Mahomes, who's been sensational this year. But it should be an interesting game. I think it'll be Bills and Chiefs, which would be a fantastic matchup. A veteran team who won the Super Bowl last year, probably the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes with a fantastic running back and a great receiving core. Obviously, list goes on, and a very underrated defense. But it would be interesting to see what this defense could potentially do against, the talent that Kansas City has on offense. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. They still have to beat the Cleveland Browns tomorrow. Make sure to tune into that game. I expect it to be a really close and interesting game. But let me know your thoughts on this Bills-Ravens game down in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. If you liked today's video, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more content, post-game shows just like this throughout the rest of the NFL playoffs. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.